Cedar posts and cedar encasements for metal buildings. What's the difference?
Let's find out.
Welcome back. This is Adbeel and Anadela here from WolfSteel Buildings.
Welcome you guys. So as you guys know, we focus on making sure that you guys have the education that you guys need to make good decisions in this market. So whether you're buying from WolfSteel Buildings or you're shopping from someone else, maybe if you're out of the state, because we only service the state of Texas, we make sure that you guys have all of the information that you guys need to make sure you guys make educated decisions. So what are we going to be talking about in this specific video, Adbeel?
Yeah, that's right. So now more than ever, all of us consumers have information at our fingertips. And in this video, we are going to be talking about something you are seeing, like you and we are seeing a lot more common in the metal building industry, and that is cedar wood.
Correct. So these additions have been added to our buildings. We've been seeing it a lot in a lot of our tours. If you guys are kind of following our channel, and also a lot more other companies are starting to kind of bring these up. They're being added more and more, and that is cedar post and cedar encasements.
Yeah, so what are we waiting? Let's get right to it.
Okay, so Adbeel, before we get started with the pricing differences and the construction process differences, why cedar? There's so many different types of wood, so why cedar for Texas metal buildings?
Yeah, so using cedar wood as accessories on Texas metal buildings has increased in demand in the last like 2-3 years. There are many reasons why we think there has been an increase. First, cedar wood doesn't decay easily. Because cedar wood has natural like oils and chemicals, it is extremely resistant to rot, decay, and insects damage.
I've also actually heard that it helps repel mosquitoes. What do we know about that?
Yeah, so based on some online, that I was doing research, it's like, yeah, it actually does. I haven't personally, have you? I've been more around metal buildings than really just wood around me, so.
So if you guys actually know the answer to that question, make sure to drop it down below, especially because these Texas mosquitoes, they don't play.
They don't play.
It's been raining like crazy here in Texas, and you step outside, and now with this really horrible humid weather, you get bit like crazy. So I don't know. If you know the answer, drop it down below.
And next is also durability. So cedar wood is known for its longevity. It can withstand harsh weather like rain and sunlight that we have here in Texas without deteriorating quickly. This makes cedar ideal for outdoor structures like pergolas and Texas metal buildings.
Yeah, which is why you see it a lot also on mainly lean-tos. In reality, the lean-tos kind of like that outdoor patio look where people can go out, grill. We actually have a customer who has it by his pool, and it looks so nice. We still kind of have him on our social medias, and he posts whenever they're grilling out there. So it's really nice to see how those buildings are being used and how that cedar gives it such a nice touch to match homes too.
Exactly, and we only use cedar posts or cedar encasements on our lean-tos. We don't use it as a structural of the main structure. Well, that's how we do our stuff.
Correct. But another advantage that cedar has is also its low maintenance. So cedar wood requires a lot less maintenance compared to the other wood options. You typically only need occasional cleanings, inspections, and things like that is sufficient to keep it in good condition. However, it is natural wood, so you still need to make sure to get that maintenance done, like sealing it and staining it.
Correct. So, and finally, another reason is aesthetic appeal. So there's a lot of cedar touches to these brand new homes, and Texas is also kind of rustic, right?
Yeah. So it has one of the two though. So I think those new houses have a lot of like modern touches, which we love. We love to see all these new houses and those modern touches, but it still has that like rustic feel where they're throwing in that cedar.
And so our metal buildings, you kind of want to match it along with the home or the style of the property. So for that reason, cedar wood has increased in demand along with our metal buildings. So that's reasons.
Yeah, so we do offer two different types. When we say cedar, we offer two different things, which is cedar post, which is the 8x8 cedar post, and then we also offer cedar encasements. So that's what we're going to be talking about, which is the difference between the two.
Let's break it down for you.
Okay, so the first difference we're going to be talking about is going to be structural support and function. So when we specifically say cedar post, we are referring to a solid piece of cedar wood that is typically used as a standalone structural element. In this case, it is for the steel buildings. So we've done multiple projects with this. If you've been following along to our channel, you've seen this is definitely something that we always post on the thumbnails because it's very, very attractive. But keep in mind, we only do this for our lean-tos, so like the porches, wraparounds, gable extensions, anything of that sort. And you've kind of, as I mentioned, commonly seen it on our channel, so we'll be dropping down below some of the links of the projects we've done with Cedar Post.
Yeah, and on the other hand, cedar encasements, that involves covering or wrapping around an existing structural element, such as a steel post or a column or a leg with cedar wood. So the cedar encasement serves as a protective layer for the underlying post or column or leg and enhancing its appearance and its lifespan. The encasement does not affect the structural integrity of the building, and this is the reason why we use it, whether it's for our red iron projects or for our tubular projects. We recently did a project with the cedar encasement, so make sure to check out that video.
Yeah, so we'll link it up above or link it down below. But I think that you mentioned is really important. I think some people maybe have questions about that. Does it affect the structural integrity? And no, it does not. So it's good to know.
It's more aesthetic.
Yeah, definitely. Adbeel, good thing you mentioned aesthetics because that's the next difference that we're kind of going to go over.
Yeah, so what can we say? Well, the cedar posts and the cedar encasements will definitely give you that wow factor to your Texas metal buildings. It will surely elevate the look instead of just seeing the exposed 4x4 posts or beams or galvanized steel columns, along your lean-tos or your gable extensions or porches, commonly said.
Correct. So cedar posts add more of that like natural rustic charm because as we mentioned, it is just that, cedar solid post. But the cedar encasement gives it a little bit more of like a polished, uniform appearance on your structure. But as we mentioned, both of them definitely are an eye catcher. Definitely you see them when you're driving by on the road or anything like that, especially if it matches your house.
Yep. Now, let's talk about lead times and delivery process.
Correct. So for cedar post, as we mentioned, this is a structural element. So we do procure all of those posts and the accessories during the time of fabrication in the shop to make sure it's ready for that installation. This does not necessarily delay the process, completion of your process whatsoever.
Yeah, now on the other hand, the cedar encasements are done post installation of your metal building. So for this case, it will usually extend the process an extra 1 to 3 weeks than the regular, metal building process. And the reason is because we still have to come back, still do some pre-measurements, make sure that we procure the right materials for the specific scope of that project and have them ready to install. And another thing is that it does take a little bit more time because it's more detailed craftsmanship work that, entails to do the cedar encasement.
Yeah, that goes into the process overall because they have to, and it's pretty much done on site. So there's a lot of work that goes in there. So
let's get right to it. Price comparison.
So let's start with cedar post. So each cedar post costs anywhere between $900 to $1,350. And this depends on the height of each post. So there's a lot of things that are included into the pricing of into the posts. I'm gonna go ahead and read those off because I do have a list here. So we have the U-brackets, the staining of the post, the lag bolts, raised concrete base, the concrete expansion anchors that anchor that U-bracket, and the customization that is done to adjust those headers to the cedar post and our structure. And of course, the labor, right? So there is extra labor that is done here for cedar post because it is slightly different than what our typical process is because there is no base rail on these buildings, right? So it is a little bit different there. And we have had some customers kind of ask us, because there is a lot of things that are included into the pricing of those cedar posts. They have asked us if we can do maybe smaller posts like the 6x6, so maybe kind of help them out a little bit with cost there. Unfortunately, we only use 8x8 post, and it's more for structural integrity of those. We want to make sure that the structural integrity of those posts matches the
longevity.
Yeah, of the metal buildings.
Yeah, so because it's just it is structural, so it is holding the lean-to sort of wrap around. So for that reason, we always like to build more on the safer side than on the risk side. So for that reason, we only use 8x8 inch or 8-inch by 8-inch solid posts for that. So now for cedar encasements, the price can range from $800 to $1,200 per post, all depending on the height of the post. Again, these are just ranges to give you an idea. This includes all the materials, the staining, and the labor to custom fabricate the encasements. Keep in mind, the biggest factor in cedar encasements is labor. This requires a lot more detailed craftsmanship and time to fabricate and install on site. So another thing to keep in mind is that these prices are subject to change depending on the fluctuation of wood and the labor rates.
And lastly, Adbeel, I would like to point out cedar posts can only be installed if engineer stamp plans are not required. So if you do need those engineered stamp plans, the best option for you is definitely going to be to go with cedar encasements.
That is correct, and that's because metal building engineers usually not engineer the cedar posts in your plans. Well, at least not cost effectively. So unlike cedar encasements, which will really only serve as like an aesthetic appeal, not a structural component of the metal building, like a cedar post.
Correct. But ultimately, the choice between cedar posts and cedar encasements definitely depends on you, the factors that you're taking into consideration, what is the use of it, the budget that you're looking at for your project, and the overall aesthetics. I think, we've really just seen this rise due to kind of how housing has changed here in the state of Texas.
Yeah, and as far as price, I mean, they're both basically the same price. So it's just a matter of, what eligibility you have to use from both options, or which one you like more as an appearance. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, they are kind of, as we mentioned, pretty much right there in price. The biggest thing is what is the budget that you have for your overall project, and do you have the ability to add these in?
It's a luxury.
It's a luxury. It is a luxury.
I have seen that it does add more value to your property, having cedar. But don't take that from me. We're not real estate agents. So hopefully we did shed some light on the differences of these two terms. Make sure to hit the bell button if you want to see more videos like this.
Correct, guys. So we actually made this video responding to a comment to our most recent video that had the cedar encasements. So make sure to continue leaving us comments down below. We'll try to get a quick video, do some research, and kind of go based off of talking to our teammates and our building manager and our procurement manager, and kind of see what information that they have, so we can gather a video for you guys. But as he mentioned, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.